Hi guys, hi from Andrea Unger. Do you use indicators? This question is often asked to me and it comes together with what indicators do you use? We already discussed about this, but I want just to go more in depth about this matter. My answer normally is I don't use indicators for my trading systems. And this answer is astonishing for most of the guys out there who are asking me the question, because the common thinking about trading system is a trading system is a proper mix of indicators put together to realize the automation. And this is far from the truth. I don't mean they don't work at all, but for sure there are better ways to build trading systems. All the students of the Trading Systems Supremacy program know the way I build trading systems, know that I use chart patterns as filters, and I use an analysis with these patterns to understand what a market normally does. Based on that, I develop further to get the end result. But thinking a bit better about this, I also realized that yes, sometimes I use indicators, but I don't use indicators in the way people think. So I don't use indicators to build my setup. But if I use them as a filter to another kind of entry or activity. And one of the indicators that I love most, it's a big word that I prefer, let's say, is the ADX. ADX is an indicator which moves between 0 and 100, even though 0 and 100 are crazy levels both, and it measures somehow, let's say, the acceleration of the price move. I'm not going in depth into the formula, the equation, because it doesn't make sense here, and on most of the charting software you find the ADX as is, so you have just to input the number of bars of which it is calculated. But just be aware that it tells you more or less how accelerated the market is in that very moment. And big values of ADX are all those exceeding, I might say, 65, okay? Whereas 80, 90 are very seldom seen on any chart. So above 65, you are already in a situation of a strong acceleration. And small values are, I might tell you, below 40, 45, 40. I don't consider values of 15 or 90 because, as said, they are at such a limit that it doesn't make really sense to investigate on that. But these values play an important role in your entries. And they also change if you change the number of bars on which you calculate the value of ADX. The shorter they look into the market, the longer, of course, this is pretty easy to understand. But obviously you might target a smaller number of bars if you go for a longer move, or a small number if you go for a short move, short time horizon of your trade, or a longer number of bars on which you calculate this oscillator if you go for a longer time horizon of the trade. But how to use it? What is ADX telling you, and how can it help in your trading systems? If you imagine a breakout, imagining a breakout, you might think that the strength of the market helps in a breakout. So the higher the ADX, the better the entry. Is this true? Does it really work like that? To understand it a bit better, looking at numbers, as I normally love to do, I prepared a small investigation on my computer just to show you. Take care and have a look at it. I'll show you immediately. So guys, this is our code. very simple code, very easy. We have our input, my ADX limit. This is an input so that I can optimize it to understand how it works. It's here as a limit to the ADX value, which is a variable, and it's actually the ADX on 5 bars. Very simple. Daily bars in my example here, but it doesn't matter, bars. Then this limitation, if my ADX is smaller than my limit, which is set to 100, which is no filter, but when we will analyze it, then I can perform this task here. Here I have an additional task. If the close of yesterday is smaller than the close of the day before, then you can buy at the breakout of the high of yesterday. Okay? It's a typical breakout entry. Very, very simple. If, on the contrary, the close is higher than the close of the day before, then you can enter short at the low of yesterday. Okay? And this is just a set of rules to enter the market. Very simple. This part here is sort of a retracement rule to the entry, which helps and also helps to separate long and short on the same day, because obviously I cannot have both a close smaller and a close greater than the close of the day before. Okay. Then we close at the end of the day. Set exit on close is the instruction that means that positions are closed at the end of the day. As I said, it's just an example. I have this basket of instruments here. Sorry, I put it to 100 now because we don't want a filter immediately. I say that 100 is the maximum value of ADX. Some Forex pairs, and then I have some futures crude oil, S&P crude oil, gold, and DAX future. So we run the backtest, and here we have results. So these are the results, so positive results. The strategy makes money. The equity curve is not the best of the world, but it shows a rising equity, which means that the idea works. The idea works, and does now ADX have some effect on this? We run therefore an optimization from 20 to 100, step 5. 20, as said, is the lower limit because I don't believe it makes sense to go lower than that, as I already said. So let's see what happens with this optimization. Okay, here we are, results. This is without a filter, 380,000, it's fine. And then we see that the results do not change very much, actually. Sometimes we get something more, sometimes something less. Here above, when we go to smaller, 40, 35, and 30, we see on 30 we get more or less half of the fossil. But with 35, we get more or less the same, just a little bit less. Okay, 350 to 480. This is okay. But look at the drawdown. Here we had a drawdown of 150,000, and here is only 43,000. So it has an enormous impact on drawdown. We had an incredible improvement on our drawdown. And the number of trades, here we had over 19,000 trades. Now we have only about 8,000. So we cut a great number of trades. We work less to make more or less the same result. So we take this and we have a look at the overall result. So we are working less, we are lazy traders, we are working less and making the same amount of money. And now the equity line, well, this equity line looks much better than the previous equity line, no doubt about this. Numbers are more or less the same. Long and short are more or less equivalent. And if we look at the symbols, we see they are almost all profitable. Just some symbols show some smaller losses. But I mean, this is obvious in any portfolio, and it would be tricky to just to take this symbol out. I let them there, I leave them there, and we can work. This strategy cannot be used in real money because we have an average trade of about $44, which is not enough to cover all the trading costs. So this is just a model that might require more development. Remember this. We have not shown the ultimate model to make money. It's a model that works, on which you could work. But in some cases, it's even good. Look at the gold future, for example. Okay, this is the gold future, and with no filter, it's 100 now. We have this situation: a profitable strategy, a short is losing anyway, and the equity line, well, it made money in the early years and then stopped making money. Here we have a drawdown as well, and you see the drawdown is stabilized here around 40,000, something like that. And this obviously is not very exciting. Now, if we use the input that we just found of 35 here, let's see how things change on gold future. Fewer trades, clearly. And here we are, the performance report. Now, short is positive as well now. It's a good balance, short and long. And the equity line looks much better. Much better. The drawdown only once went in direction of 20,000 and then normally stayed around 10,000. Big difference, huge difference with previous solution. So this is something that looks very interesting. We could even consider to trade this. If we look at the average trade of this strategy, you can see that it is nearly almost 200, okay? 196. So this is something that could be usable in real life because it's enough on gold future 200, especially on an intraday strategy because we are closing positions at the end of the day. To tell the truth, anyway, if we look at the yearly performance, the annual performance here, you see that in the latter years the performances were weaker than in the earlier years. So not that exciting, but 2020 was not bad. $3,000 with only 6 trades. This is something that we would be happy to achieve, of course. So you've seen. Maybe you were already aware, maybe this is nothing new for you, but actually it might be surprising that breakout entry works better after a relaxing of a move and works obviously worse when the moves are already in a strong way. As said, this was an example. I use this way ADX, obviously depending on the setup that you build, you can use it with different parameters, and I suggest you make different kind of investigations. It's not the same on every single market, on every instrument. This is clear, I hope, for you now. But the principle works, and the evidence of the numbers is actually giving me a right to tell you something like this. So ADX is one of the stuff, of the things that I use in building my trading systems. As said, it comes after all another world of things. If you want to learn and understand a bit more about trading systems and what I do, you can register at the link here below, which is completely free, and you will have a peek into the world of trading system, Andrea Unger and the Unger Academy, what we do in this world and how we work. It might be interesting because you might find some other insights, as I hope you found with this small tip about ADX. So indicators, no, but yes, sometimes how, as a filter, I just showed you. Guys, this was it. If you have questions, write them below and we keep in touch. See you next time. Ciao from Andrea Unger.